Welcome everybody. Charley Hogwood with Survival Dispatch here with a quick update on the coronavirus and what's happened over the last few days. It's been a couple of days since we've put out a video update, and there is a lot to catch up on. I've spent a lot of time digging through news sources, press releases, government releases, briefings, you name it. We have covered a lot of it. I've done that, so you don't necessarily have to. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you some headlines. I'm going to do a little bit of digging into each one just a touch, because there's just too much. There's way too much information going on right now. And if you want to take a pen and pencil and make some notes and do some digging in as you wish on your own time, then feel perfectly free. Here's what's going on as of today. The United States is quickly becoming the pandemic virus epicenter, which means we are not there quite yet, but we are getting close. We are picking up speed. We are getting into that period where everybody said it was going to get bad. It is getting bad. It's getting bad in a lot of places. Now, here's what's happening. While you may not feel it getting bad in your place or in your sphere of influence, in other places, it is getting bad. So we'd like to give everybody some assurance that this is still going on. There's a lot happening. As you know, I'm deeply involved in my community. I am now the county-wide volunteer coordinator for personnel, equipment, medical supplies, food, and everything else that needs to be moved around. So when it comes to managing volunteers, there's a lot going on behind the scenes. For example, in England, they just picked up 250,000 volunteers is what they've needed just to fill the spaces to keep things running outside of the government. Government cannot make up all of your needs, and that's really becoming very, very obvious these days. So due to this becoming the epicenter here in the United States, that's becoming a bigger issue. So today the world is approaching 439,000 confirmed cases, although I would suspect the truth is far higher, since the U.S. is seriously lagging on any kind of testing here. We have not done nearly enough, and I think the true story is hidden within the community, and I believe a lot of people have it and don't realize it yet. And I have read where one person can potentially have the infect of 59,000 other people. So I'd had to go back and double check that, but that's something I believe I saw here recently as an anecdote. The work to flatten out the curve is ongoing. So the curve being if you will remember, there's a graph that we've seen. All right, so we've got the level of hospital beds available, and the faster the rise of cases goes, the sooner it crosses the availability of medical facilities to take care of that. When it goes too high, these people above the curve do not get the care they need. And it's not just those people, it's people with all kinds of regular things, car accidents, broken bones, heart issues, various illnesses that are nothing to do with the virus. So that curve, we're trying to flatten it and get it to come in under that ability to reduce the surge for bed space. So that's what we're trying to do by flattening the curve. So with all non-essential medical procedures, dental surgeries, eye surgeries, things of those natures are being put off wherever they possibly can. And then all of the PPE, which is your personal protective equipment that medical professionals need in the environment, they're trying to reroute that equipment to where it's needed the most. So requests for materials and equipment from the National Emergency Stockpile have been trickling out. They are not coming out as much as is needed. I can tell you in my own personal experience and briefings, that's not getting out where it needs to be. A very small percentage is showing up where it has been requested. So we do need to preserve that stuff wherever we can. There's even been medical facilities who have released online instructions on how to for people at home to sew mask covers and send them to hospitals. That's something I have not heard ever happen before, especially in this modern day and age. So That seems to be an interesting thing. New York is currently leading the confirmed cases, and the governor has called the virus a bullet train speeding through the city. So what does that tell you there? New York City Homeland Security briefing had indicated that the conventional morgue space was reaching capacity. And the city doesn't seem to be too worried because they do have contingencies for rapid expansion due to all kinds of events that have happened in the last 20 years. And if needed, the federal FEMA could deploy what's called DMORT teams, or disaster mortuary response teams, to aid in the collection and storage of people that need morgue space. So there's that. Big news, in my opinion, is that India has now locked down its entire population of roughly 1.3 billion people. Now, they did a voluntary experiment and asked people to be locked down for a couple weeks. That failed miserably, and after 2 days, the Prime Minister Modi had ordered a sudden, complete shutdown for 21 days, which has led to swarming of everything edible in the country. So what we're looking at here could be hunger and starvation being the big problem in India, because they just don't have the systems in place for that level of a shutdown and supply of those necessities. The other big news is the $2 trillion rescue approved by Congress, the largest in American history. So as the details come out for that, I'm sure everybody will hear about it and see who gets the pieces of that pie. There have been reports of food nationalism becoming a problem around the world. Food nationalism. So what does that mean? Well, just as people have hoarded or stored or prepped their supplies from the local markets to their home, nations are in many cases now reducing the export of food materials to other countries. So the United States is a net exporter of food, so we have enough here. A number of countries do not. They import their food, and so with the situation going on in India on the horizon here, the serious locust issue in Africa, which is already threatening famine, there could be a very, very serious food security issue growing in those places. And you might start to see some of that here in future food supply lines. The efforts to restock our shelves you might start to see some things that you're used to seeing no longer there, at least for the time being. The Department of Justice has issued guidance on how to deal with people who intentionally spread the virus using federal terrorism laws. That's right. If you intentionally spread the virus, try to get somebody sick, threaten them with that, you now could be subject to federal terrorism laws. So that's where we are with that. The mayor of Los Angeles is very serious about businesses shutting down, and the businesses that are not listening are at risk of now having their utilities shut off to their businesses. That would be water and electricity can be turned off to businesses who are not listening to the orders to shut down. So in today's column of People Are Always Your Biggest Problem, thousands of inmates are being released from various jails and prisons to reduce the spread in those close quarter environments. Social media coronavirus challenge, the latest challenge, has people licking toilet seats. Don't understand. I'm going to move on. A man was arrested and charged with a felony for making terroristic threats in Missouri for licking products on store shelves, videoing it, and placing it on Facebook. Yes. Teens have been taking videos of themselves coughing on people, and there was a person arrested for coughing on a grocery store employee as a threat there. So teens coughing all over the produce in the grocery store and saying they have coronavirus. There's been a sharp uptick in child abuse claims with so many kids at home and out of school with parents and families and everybody locked down trying to get work done. So let's all try to keep our temper and not take any of this out on the children. And finally, when it comes to people, gangs and militias who control the favelas in Rio de Janeiro in Brazil have self-imposed curfews and restrictions of residents, threatening a corrective action if people are caught out in public. They are told to stay home. The favelas could be a breeding ground with, in some cases, not 50% of the structures in the favelas having sanitary sewer connections. So it is in the interests of everybody in those close quarter environments to shut down. And it sounds like the people are taking that to themselves, because the government and the law enforcement don't go to some of those places. So let's all try to take some time, check on our neighbors, check on our friends, our families. Let's maintain our social distances. Let's wash our hands. Let's think about all of the possible ways that we can reduce cross-contamination of germs, either from us to someone else to us to our family. Think about what you need before you go out. My recommendation is to stock up and remain stocked up, because we don't know where this is all going to end up. I assure you the virus will be over in some weeks. It might be another couple of 3 months before this is over, but if you're stocked up, if you're prepared to stay inside, and you're checking out Survival Dispatch to get all these videos and everything helpful, check out survivaldispatch.com. Check out insider.survivaldispatch.com for our digital magazine with many, many pages of ad-free, digital, highly polished content for your education. We also have a podcast that's available everywhere podcasts are, Apple, Spotify, and so forth. As you can hear in the background, everybody is working from home today, and Voodoo is on guard outside. So I'm going to check out and see what he's up to, and we'll get back with you again later on. This is Charley Hogwood with Survival Dispatch, signing off.